So real quick, before we get to Westbrook potentially being traded, the return for Paul George was obscene. Shea, very good young player. Gallo, good player. And 7 draft assets between unprotections and protected picks and pick swaps, and some of them are the Heat and others are coming directly from the Clippers, and that's just obscene, like I just said, because that just gives OKC so much flexibility moving forward, whether it's trading for stars to pair up with Westbrook if they want to keep the ship afloat, or using those picks, or just whatever. There's so many options that OKC has opened up for themselves, and that is the number one thing to remember. Even if in the moment, if you're a Thunder fan, I can understand why this is a bit of a gut punch. Anyway, if we move on now to the idea of, are the Thunder going to go for a full-on rebuild here? In the sense of, would they trade Russell Westbrook? First and foremost, who the hell would actually take Westbrook? I mean, his contract is what it is. It's massive. It's going to be over $40 million soon. And the guy is going in a downward direction. Now, with that being said, I still put him for All-NBA second or third team, I believe, but his shooting was basically bad this previous year. His playoff performance was similar to what we've seen it be in the past, which is taking a lot of bad shots and having OKC's offense be way too predictable. And yeah, you could say, well, if Dame doesn't hit a couple of crazy shots and if PG's shoulder isn't hurt, then maybe these guys get to round 2. Yeah, maybe, but I wouldn't have been surprised if the Blazers still would have won that series anyway. So who would actually want this dude? I mean, the team I think of immediately is Miami, right? Capped out, desperate to win, really want stars, just got Jimmy Butler, and they're known for either prolonging careers or resurrecting them a bit in the sense of getting players in much better shape. Not that Westbrook really needs that, but maybe they could do some stuff with his jumper, and maybe Pat Riley would be the one dude who could influence Russ to change up his play style a little bit. Maybe that could be a thing, and Spoelstra would be the best coach that Westbrook ever played for. If it wasn't going to be the Miami Heat, I really don't know, because then you have to find the team where it's like the perfect amount of like contracts that can make it work, and the situation they're in right now is where they can try to win, because if you're going to trade for Russ at 30, who just had his worst season in a long time, you got to be ready to go right now. This isn't like we'll trade for him, and then if we wait a year, we can get off of some money. It's not really going to work like that. So it does take the number of potential teams down quite a bit. Maybe Daryl Morey is crazy enough to explore that. Westbrook and Harden being on the same team again. I can't picture Masai Ujiri being up for it. I don't think the Celtics definitely wouldn't after the Kemba Walker signing. The Magic, I mean, they're desperate for a point guard, but I don't think they have enough veterans to be all in on that right now, especially because, I mean, you got to trade something for Westbrook, of course. The Pistons, I mean, potentially, but do they have anything that OKC would really love to have? I should say, I don't really know what a Westbrook trade would look like. It's certainly not going to be 7 draft picks, so there's that. I don't know. I mean, you could certainly find a team or two if you try hard enough and you really think about some things, but I just don't think a lot of obvious teams really come up for Westbrook, right? So it goes back to Miami once again, and yeah, I could picture it. Now, what would be the point of the Thunder keeping Westbrook? Well, it keeps the team respectable. It's certainly nice for your fans, and it gets people to actually come to your games. And at least for one season, like I think I mentioned this earlier, they could still be playoff contenders. I mean, there's certainly a lot of good teams in the West, but with Clay being out for however long he's going to be out, and just whatever weird things can happen, like maybe you get in there. Maybe Gallo's really good. Maybe Shea just has an awesome season, and hell, maybe Shea becomes some second star next to Westbrook, and you just kind of keep it going. I mean, these things are all possibilities, but if I was the Thunder, I would certainly be looking into trading Westbrook, but I would also be looking into ways to just shore up the rest of the roster. Now, there's not a whole lot of options there, but I'm pretty sure Avery Bradley is attainable on a really cheap contract right now. Similar things can be said for Kyle Korver, Iguodala, whatever. Like, these are still NBA players who could help you win games, I guess. It's also possible that Jeremy Grant becomes the next great NBA defender. He's gotten a little better every season. His wingspan is still otherworldly. And of course, you could move at least one of the picks that you've now acquired from the Clippers to get some more talent on this team. Like, there are things you could do to give yourself kind of a best of both worlds of, like, we're still respectable even without Paul George, and we do right with our fans by keeping Russ, and then we also have all these future assets. But I think the fear with that is that would be kind of a half-assed rebuild, where a full-ass rebuild would be using Russ to get more assets. Now, again, maybe Shea really pops in his second season and he's good enough to where you're comfortable keeping Russ around and doing that. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see the outcome, and maybe Russ would get traded this offseason. Maybe it would be next year at a deadline or something. I don't really know, but OKC has definitely... I'll tell you this much. The mid-2020s look a lot better for OKC than they did 48 hours ago. And we'll just have to see how they navigate from here.